Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, we'll be doing yet another update to the very popular series, which is titled Man Leaves Cheating Wife in Hotel with Nothing, etc., etc. And guys, this update is going to be the brother-in-law's side of the story. If you all recall from this story, this is about the guy who married for a while now. His wife's obviously a very beautiful woman, and she has a twin sister. And as it turns out, through all the chaos, that she and her sisters have had a lifelong habit of switching partners, boyfriends, and now husbands, where sometimes he was sleeping with his twin sister's, his wife's twin sister, and sometimes the brother-in-law was sleeping with his wife, etc., etc. This whole chaotic story here. And this take is going to be the brother-in-law's take. And when we left off, this guy found out that his brother-in-law, actually, the guy telling the story, his name is Phil. The characters are Phil, the brother-in-law Ken, this guy's wife Ellie, and Karen, you all remember. And he found out that the child who he thought was his niece is actually his daughter, because of all the sleeping around going on. The wives, the sisters, the twins, they've been their whole lives trading partners just as a fun game. They're sickos, they're twisted. And he and the brother-in-law weren't exactly on speaking terms. The brother-in-law was convinced that this guy knew all along, and it was just a very ugly situation. However, as you're going to see in the story, he convinced the brother-in-law to watch my videos, hear the side of the story, and they're now on speaking terms, trying to be allies in this crazy situation. And so what we have here is the brother-in-law's take on what he has learned, his side of the story, and things he's learned from his wife Karen. And let me tell you, it's just as crazy as the other one. So guys, I'm going to go through this now. Now, as you can probably imagine and not be surprised at all, this is very long. This is quite long, which I cannot do in one or even two videos. This is going to be 3 videos. The one I'm doing right here, right now, around lunchtime. I'll do part 2 of this spin-off series with the brother-in-law's take a few hours from now. And then the third one in the early evening tonight. So you got a whole day of shows here to keep you entertained. So without further ado, getting into it, he says, hello SSM. And by the way, this part is first from Phil, the guy that told the other 6 parts, and then we'll get into the brother-in-law. He says, hello SSM. Thank you for running my posts as well as your comments and those of your viewers. They are insightful and tremendously helpful to me personally. Just so you know, Ellie is still out of my house and has signed the divorce agreement. Our divorce should be final in a year. It's going to be a long year, my man, but good job getting her the hell out. This is an update, but not for me. It is from Ken, Karen's husband and my brother-in-law. Ken asked me to send it in. Ken had his reasons for using me as the middleman to get what he's written to SSM. But understand, I sent this to SSM with Ken's full knowledge and agreement. I've done nothing here behind Ken's back or without his full enthusiastic support. He states this in his post. He says here he wrote this in. The brother-in-law sent him his side of the story, and this guy's sending it in because apparently in the brother-in-law's email has information about his name, and the brother-in-law didn't want that to get sent to me. Even though, understand guys, I will never ever reveal the identity of anybody that sends in their stories. Never, ever, ever. I'm like a journalist. An old school journalist. I will always protect the source. As you will see, he addresses his post to SSM and the SSM community. He did write this for me, or he didn't write this for me or to me. I agreed not to edit or exchange anything he has written, and I have not. Hopefully SSM sees Karen's update as instructive to the community and decides to read it and comment on it. Well, gentlemen, you can always count on our community here to comment, and comment away. Ken and I are now talking again. I sent him the links to the SSM videos by Ellie, Karen, him, and me. He called me to tell me he watched all 6 videos and read most of the comments. That's a lot of comments, guys. He still thinks I'm a bad guy, but probably not as bad as he thought I was. That's okay. I'm just glad we're back to talking. As he says, we should be allies, not enemies. You guys need to be allies. The real villains here are the sisters. I know he still is convinced that you knew all along or something like that, and I disagree with that, but we're going to hear his side of the story. He deserves to be heard. Ken found out a lot about Karen, but also a lot about Ellie from Karen. These are truly horrible people. It's eye-opening how these SLUTs think about marriage, fidelity, and their cheating. Excuse me, guys. It's the morning. I'm never good in the morning. I can't wait to hear SSM's comments and those of the community. I told Ken I wouldn't change anything that he wrote to SSM. I have not, but I told Ken I was going to comment on his post. He said that's okay with that, and here's what I have to say in my defense to what he wrote. Now, we're going to hear Phil's take on his defense, then we'll get into the main story. Phil says, number one, I did not know that Ellie and Karen had this tag team going with Ken and me. Maybe I shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I didn't know. When she told me about the exchanging boyfriends in high school and college, I thought Ellie had put all that behind her. Smack! I know you were young, but you should never ever gotten together with Ellie, knowing full well that she and her sister played games with guys, swapping boyfriends. You know how much of screw-up guys, especially ones that cared about them, they're never going to change. And to no surprise, they brought all this drama into your marriage. No, I know you know this, but I had to say that. I thought Ellie had put that all behind her. Well, she's putting a lot of guys behind her. Now she had a loving husband who she said she loved and married. No need for her to keep up her past behavior. I was wrong. I didn't see the red flags because I didn't know about red flags. I could not imagine Ellie doing this to me. The same is true of finding out about her mother. I knew she was horrible, but I didn't realize that when you marry the daughter, you're really marrying a younger version of her mother. I now know. Yes, for you marriage guys out there, you're dating a gal and you're getting serious with her. Not only do you look at the mother to see what the mother looks like, because that's probably how your wife's going to look like in time, decades to come, but also how the mother behaves, because the mother, whether the daughter realizes it or not, is her number one role model, and she's going to mimic her behavior throughout the stages of life. Guaranteed. Number two, despite what Karen told Ken, Ellie does not have anything on me that she's going to pull out of a hat to use against me. There's no deep secret that my mother let slip to Ellie about me. There's nothing devastating about me to tell. Her claims that I entrapped her in the hotel room in Santa Fe, I've already discussed. The publicity around her infidelity in Santa Fe would ruin her career. Ellie would never do anything that would make her look bad. Well, she's done a hell of a lot to make her look bad. And she would look really bad taking the stand. Ellie's a lot of bluster and threats, but there's nothing behind the bluster and threats. There's nothing else that she has because I've done nothing she can hold over me. Number three, Karen described Karen and my bedroom activities to Ken. Probably a mistake. Yes, it was. But she and Ken talks about this stuff in his post. Karen seems to imply that I demanded Karen to do stuff with me that I would never ask Ellie to do. And that Ellie was surprised by my demands when Karen and Ellie talked about them. So Ken believes that I knew it was Karen, not Ellie, in bed with me. No, I always thought I was in bed with my wife, never with Karen. Well, a lot of guys had issue with that. They're thinking, how could you not know, you know? But I'm guessing probably when they did the wife swapping, it was probably later in the day or the evening when obviously it's a long day, you're tired, and they're getting right down to the loving, and you're not paying a whole lot of attention to that. And they're twins, mind you. I find it repulsive that I have to talk about our SEX life, but I guess I don't have a choice. So a couple things first. Ellie and I have regularly done the stuff Karen told Ken I wanted Karen to do. More times over the years than I could not have been only with Karen. Actually, Ellie and I did this relatively often. I told this to Ken when we were talking about what Karen told him. Okay, and you're going to see in this story that this dude, the brother-in-law Ken's wife, Karen, tells him that she did all this stuff with Phil that he and his wife never did. Well, apparently he did. I told this to Ken when we talked about what Karen told him. If Ellie acted surprised when she and Karen discussed Karen's S-word activities with me, Ellie was pulling Karen's leg. Ellie expected Karen to tell Ellie everything, but Ellie would hide things from Karen that made Ellie look bad or Ellie was embarrassed. Maybe Ellie was uncomfortable telling Karen about this regular feature of our lovemaking. Man, dude, what were you doing? We could all speculate on what was going on behind the scenes. Second, Karen made it sound like I forced her to do something she didn't want to do. It is impossible to do what we did unless your partner is willing. Now I really gotta know what the fuck you were doing. Ellie or whoever it was in my bed had to be eager with it, or it's not going to happen. If Karen did this with me, when Karen was pretending to be Ellie, as Karen told Ken she did not, it was only because Karen was very enthusiastic about what was going on. It wasn't too gross or painful for her when she was in my bed. Now I know what you were doing. And Karen admitted to Ken that she kept coming back for more. There were two eager consenting adults in my bed, even if I didn't know who the other one really was. Our bedroom activities were not just something just done on PORN sites, as Ken says. It's something I believe consenting adults fairly typically do. Well, if it's what I think you're talking about, yeah, that does happen. The three-way hookups that Karen admits to Ken and Karen and Ellie's S-word intimacy with each other are the sort of thing that likely to be on PORN sites that anything I ever did with Ellie or Karen, or anything I've ever done. Also, Karen describes to Ken how she and Ellie got into boyfriend swapping. That could be made into a XXX movie. There's nothing that's not XXX about Ellie and Karen. Number 4. I did ask Karen to sleep with me once when she was staying with us after Ken threw her out. I wasn't serious. It was just to piss Ellie off. It did piss Ellie off. Karen seems to agree with me about this. At number 5, I debated about telling Ken about SSM's videos. Ken did not know that Ellie and Karen's driver's license to get on the plane. Ken did not know that Ellie used Karen's driver's license to get on a plane. Now he does from the videos. Ken told Karen he knows about the driver's license. Karen told Ellie has been blowing up my phone with text and voice messages, and I ignore her. I really don't care if Ellie or Karen know that I know about Ellie's illegally getting on a plane. Ellie and Karen can't change what they did. Let them worry about what I'm going to do. Well, as I said at the end of your last video, I know you were thinking about using that now. I said, save it for a rainy day. Any BS goes on, you have that stuff that can get her into serious trouble. Both of them. Just tuck it away at your insurance policy. That is it for me. Here's Ken's post exactly as he wrote it. I have not changed a word. Now, we're getting into Ken's story. He says here, Phil has been referring to me as Ken in his post. I'm 36 years old, as he said. I decided to write to SSM to correct the account sent to SSM by my brother-in-law. I watched all 6 videos about my wife Karen, my sister-in-law Ellie, Phil, and me. I read almost all the comments in all the 6 videos. Phil left out some things that make him look bad. I want to correct that. It says, more important for the SSM community is what I've learned about the mentality of a cheater, at least the mentality of my unfaithful wife and her twin Ellie. I'll let my wife expose herself in her own words in this post. Hopefully that will provide educational to the SSM audience. Bro, number 1, thank you for writing in. Number 2, I'm sorry all this bullshit happened to you. You did not deserve this. And I appreciate you doing this. This is hard. And your story will help guys out there. Guaranteed. I said, there's some things Karen did that I don't understand. Maybe SSM and the community can provide insight about her actions. I am glad that Phil wrote to SSM and that SSM decided to read and comment on Phil's post to the community. I'm glad Phil sent me the link to watch them. I've learned a lot from these posts, SSM's commentary, and the comments. I hope SSM airs this to give me an opportunity to tell my side of things and provide an update of where things are with me now. I've written this and given it to Phil. Phil said he will pass it on to SSM for me without changing or editing it at all in any way. If SSM decides it's warranted sharing what I've written with his viewers, SSM has my full permission and encouragement to do so. Okay, you heard it all here. Full permission. And of course I would share it, bro. You worked hard to write this story. You should be heard. After watching the videos, I decided it was best if Phil and I kept in touch. It's better that we're allies rather than enemies. At least in going through our divorces. But we're never going to be buddies. I still think Phil knew he was sleeping with my wife. I don't think that. But some guys do. And I don't blame you for thinking that. But yes, you need to be allies in this whole process rather than enemies. So here is my update. I've watched SSM's videos where the husband can just walk away, does not need to know why. There are also videos where the husband can't rest until he finds out what happened and why. I guess I'm with the second group. I don't know why, but I needed some sort of explanation. How did it start? Why did she do what she did? Nothing she tells me is going to change my mind about divorcing. That is in the works, but I just want to know. What motivates a woman I loved and who claims to still love me to destroy her family? I figured out a way to get at least some of the truth from Karen. Dude, with all due respect, I wouldn't believe a goddamn thing Karen says. Because she and her sister, Ellie, have demonstrated through their actions that they're sociopaths. They're wackos. They could care less about anybody. They have no soul. They've been doing this game since they were, they've been playing games since they were little girls. And eventually when they became S-word active, swapping boyfriends, playing with guys' minds. I mean, who the hell does that? So, You said you've been getting information out of her. At best, you may be getting shades of the truth, trickle truth, but you never get the full story. And I know you obviously, like a lot of guys, want to know everything for you to move on. You're not going to get everything. That's just a fact, an absolute fact, based on what I've been, my 45 years on this planet, my life experience, and the experience that I've heard from others, and all these stories. But if you need that to help you move on, so be it. I've installed cameras in my home. All what follows is recorded. After I watched the SSM videos, and after Karen moved back in with me to be a housekeeper and nanny, I asked Karen to sit with me on the couch. We needed to talk. I told her I thought about a lot, and I think it's time to discuss reconciliation. What? Karen smiled and started, oh, you're bullshitting her. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired, so I'm obviously not thinking straight. Karen smiled and started tearing up. Tears of joy, I guess. She asked if she could hug me. I told her let's talk first. I told her I thought it would be better for the kids to remain married and worked on our marriage. I said I thought her cheating was an illness that she needs to get help for. Well, she has an illness and she does need help, but in her mind, yes, I have something to blame. It's an illness. It's not my fault for what my sister and I did. No, we have an illness that we can put blame on. In other words, being a typical American, well, fuck it, a typical human being. It's much easier to put blame on everything else and take accountability for your actions. With an even bigger smile, she said she would find a therapist for herself first thing in the morning. What, so she can go sleep with the therapist? She'd see the therapist every day if she needed to. Who's going to pay for that? She never wanted to be unfaithful, but could never not help herself. She said I was right. It was an illness. What a steaming pile of crap. She is jumping on that like she's been jumping on dudes her whole life just to, get away from the blame. But she would get well and be the most perfect wife. She loved me and would never cheat again. Bigger smile still. Yeah, sure. Pinocchio's nose is growing as she's saying all this crap. I told her the cheating had to end, but I could live with her past if she got help for her problems. Dude, you're a good liar. What I could not accept is the lying. Is she completely honest with me? And only if I believe she is completely honest, we could begin to work on our marriage together. If she's willing to be completely honest, is she willing to be completely honest? She said I could ask her anything. She'll be completely forthright to prove to me how much she's changed. She's not hiding anything anymore. Guys, guess what? Generally speaking, people don't change. And people like her and her sister most certainly do not change. But this guy's put up a big act to get information out of her. She only held back some things because she didn't want me to despise her even more than I already did. But now that we're reconciling, she wants to begin our marriage anew by being fully truthful about everything. Total honesty. Just don't be mad at what she tells me. She loves me and always had. Yeah, sure. I don't think I can detest Karen more than I already do. But she may be right. There may be no bottom to my hate for her. Phil texted me the video of Karen talking to Ellie about my dating a coworker and telling Karen that I was bringing her home to sleep over. The video included that they're plotting to use that against me to end the relationship with my coworker and to reconcile with Karen. Right, this guy Phil here, once he found out that his wife Karen was doing all this, he started seeing a coworker and the wives were going to use that against him. I asked Karen why she snooped on my phone. I'd never done anything to make her suspicious of me. She told me she's always had my password and has been checking my phone at least every few weeks since we were married. Not surprised there. She's a big cheater, so in her mind, everybody else is a cheater, so she wants to keep track. And probably, if you were cheating on her back then, which obviously you weren't, she could then use it to justify her actions. She told me she checked my phone because she wanted to know if I was catching on to her and Ellie switching boyfriends. No, more like checking to see if you're cheating. After I became one of those boyfriends, she also said she checked my phone all those years because she didn't think anyone was faithful to anyone anymore. See? That is the mind of a cheater. I do it, somebody else must be doing it. Everybody cheated according to her. She wanted to see who I was cheating on her with. She said she found out I was cheating on her with my coworker. You weren't cheating on her. You guys were already, it was done. You were still married, but you're done with her. I told Karen my coworker and I had equal status at work. She did not report me directly or indirectly. Karen and Ellie plot to use this against me was not going to work. My company didn't care about the two of us dating. I didn't tell Karen, but I ended it with my coworker. We remained friendly, but only see each other at work. My attorney advised it cutting it off. Judges didn't care about what wives do, but husbands had to keep their noses clean. Yeah, isn't that a bunch of crap? If the husband was fooling around, it made it easier for the judge to do what he wanted to do. Anyway, give the kids to the wife. Karen continued that Ellie told Karen from the beginning of Karen and my relationship to find something on me to use as leverage. Of course. Karen might need that leverage someday. If I was cheating and I found out about Karen's cheating, Karen could use the goods for the goose, good for the gander justification for her cheating. Maybe it would even lead to more of an open arrangement for us. No more sneaking around. So she looked through my phone to see what she could find. At the end of the day, the snooping in your phone was to give her something, some ammo, some leverage. That's the sad part about the whole thing. So Ellie pushed Karen to find something on me that would give Karen control of our marriage, or of a divorce if it ever came to that. Ellie told Karen that she has devastating stuff on Phil she will use when they get closer to the divorce being finalized. Why was Ellie pushing Karen to find something on me? Ellie told Karen just to look at their mom. Their mom found out something incriminating about their father. That enabled their mother to complete freedom to do anything she wants. Their father has to put up with it. He just has to foot the bill. Ellie said her mother has a nearly perfect marriage. If you recall from the last couple of videos, they found out that Ellie and Karen, the evil twins here, their mother, had a open marriage going on. That she was hooking up with some guy called Uncle somebody. I forget the hell his name was. And the father knew about it. And it seemed to be that the mother had dirt on the father. And he fully financed her lifestyle and her hooking up with that guy. And this is a terrible situation. And the daughters here grew up observing this. And by the way, Phil knew about this before he married Ellie, thinking that, oh, well, no problem here. And I told him he was crazy. I asked Karen what Ellie has on Phil and why she hasn't used it yet. Since she didn't know what Ellie had, Karen said Ellie implied that Phil's mother let it slip when Phil's mother and Ellie were vacationing at the beach together. Phil's mother was drinking heavily and talking to Ellie about all the mistakes she made in her past. Phil was off somewhere, so it was just Phil's mother and Ellie talking. But Karen didn't know what it was Phil's mother told Ellie. Ellie said she was going to spring it on Phil and either force him to take her back or have a marriage like their parents have, or get a much better divorce settlement. Ellie said she wasn't sure she wanted to stay married or divorced. She'd see what single life was like. But Ellie said she liked married life, just didn't like the constraints on her freedom. That's what a lot of these gals like. They want to be married for the stability and the security, and not to mention the resources, and to look good in the outside world. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're rolling in the hay with Chad and Tyrone and Chad and Tyrone's friends. But Ellie told Karen Phil was going to be rich when he inherited his father's company. It might be worth holding on to him. If she decided to divorce Phil, it might be better to wait until after he has the company. She still had time to decide if she stayed married or not. She'd use what she had on Phil when she decided what she wanted. Phil would have no choice but to agree to a better divorce agreement or to remain married. Ellie told Karen she would decide later which she'd tell Phil what she wanted to do. This Ellie something, huh? She's a piece of work, a piece of something. Ellie continued that the only problem with her parents' marriage is that their mother had to put up with her father's rotten attitude. Rotten attitude? Really? The wife has leverage on him and is using that to bang some other guy. That's rotten attitude? Imagine having to live with a man who's surly all the time. She didn't know how the mom could stand it. Ellie says sometimes that that's what marriage involved. Sometimes you have to put up with a husband who gets crabby or even angry. Guess what? All husbands are pretty much crabby or angry as they get older. It's a hassle you just have to deal with. Ellie just wasn't sure she wanted to put up with this from Phil. If she told Phil they were staying married, but she was going to see another man, Phil might be as unpleasant about Ellie's lovers as their father is about their mothers. Well, gee, who could blame them? But Phil would be paying for Ellie's lifestyle regardless of whether they stayed married or not. Ellie assured Karen that either way, she was in total control. Well, it doesn't seem like Ellie's in total control right now, and Phil has that information about her by using his sister's driver's license to get on a plane, highly illegal. That's why I said, tuck it away as an insurance policy. Phil thought he got the better of Ellie, even had the nerve to laugh at her. Ellie said, "We'll see who has the last laugh." I told Phil what Karen told me about Ellie's claim that she has something really bad on him. Phil says he's not concerned. I would be if I were Phil. Karen's mother had Uncle Fred, her mother's boyfriend. I didn't know anything about the parents, but the parents messed up open relationship until I saw SSM's videos. That's it, Uncle Fred. I've not told Karen about SSM's videos. When I saw the stuff about Karen's parents in the videos, I asked Karen about her parents. I told her Phil told me about Uncle Fred, and why did she hide Uncle Fred from me? Karen said she was worried about telling me about her parents. If I knew, it might give me second thoughts about marrying her. Gee, you think? Really? She made sure that her parents kept her mother's infidelity from me. She made sure that Uncle Fred was not going to show up when we visited them. If I had known, I would have made me think twice about marrying Karen. You're darn right, because again, her number one role model, her mother, has an open marriage, which obviously she's forcing and blackmailing the father. Not exactly an ideal family to marry into, and a daughter to marry. I like to think that I would have washed my hands of Karen if I knew how nuts her parents' marriage was. But that's me at 36 knowing what I know now. Who knows what I would have done when I was 22 years old. I was madly in love with Karen. What I would have done when I was 22 and known about her parents. Probably something as stupid as I did, marry Karen. So guys, that is the end of part 1 here. I know you're all freaking out now because I'm just getting started, but this is long, so I have to break this thing up. Now, we're really getting into it here, and again, Ken, I appreciate you sharing your part here. And in part 2, which I'll publish in a few hours, it's really going to get into some deep, dark stuff about the Twisted Sisters. There you go, the Twisted Sisters. Not to diss the band, the legendary band from the 80s, but these are the real Twisted Sisters here. So guys, stay tuned for part 2 coming later on, and of course, part 3 wrapping up Ken's side of the story tonight. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.